Now available in paperback. Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Get your copy of Eternal Night at online booksellers today. Recently, Greg Berlanti and the CW announced they were breaking more ground in so-called superhero representation with the efforts to develop Wonder Girl into a TV series. Now, this Wonder Girl is not Donna Troy from the 1960s Wonder Woman comics or Cassie Sandsmark, the Wonder Girl from the 1990s. No, this new Wonder Girl that this series is being based around is a new character created by Joelle Jones, a white woman, and comes from the DC Future State series that has not been published yet. And this Wonder Girl, created by Joelle Jones, the white woman, is supposed to be Yara Flor, a so-called Latina dreamer who was born of an Amazonian warrior and a Brazilian river god, and learns that she is Wonder Girl. Now, I see a lot of comparisons as related to that premise to America Chavez, and I don't really see a lot of substance as related to that whole concept. It's just, oh, I found out I am Wonder Girl, and now I'm going to use these powers to fight the evil forces that would seek to destroy the world. And again, this concept has not been proven inside of the pages of a DC comic. However, your CW and Greg Berlanti want to make a television series about this new Wonder Girl in an effort to so-called break ground as related to superhero representation. Now, that's where I have a problem with this series, because this series is not being developed on the merits of the character or the merits of the character's popularity. This whole television series is being developed all in the name of so-called representation. And this is not how you go out here and greenlight a series. When you're going out here to develop a superhero series, usually you want to ensure that you develop a series where you get a proof of concept, because you want to have a strong audience following for that character before you spend the millions of dollars on a television series. However, your Greg Berlanti and your Warner Brothers, they haven't even waited for the first issue to drop next year before they're starting to talk about getting a television series about this Wonder Girl from the from this Brazilian river god and this Amazonian warrior. I mean, this has not been proven in the pages of a DC comic. This book hasn't even shown that it can generate sales, yet we have Greg Berlanti and the CW talking about a television series. This is a major case of putting a cart before the horse, and it's a major case of affirmative action adaptation, the term that I'm going to call it from here on in, because just like Ryan Wilder, the CW's new Batwoman, this Yana Flor is being given a ability to leapfrog above other characters like Cassie Sandsmark in terms of live action adaptation, and being pushed to the head of the line, all in the name of so-called representation, before only basing it on her ethnicity and not based on the merits of the character and if she's popular enough to carry a series on her own. And that's a completely bad set of principles to go out here to base giving a character not only a comic book series, but given a television series as well, because what it looks like to me, passive aggressively, is that they're making a passive attempt at diversity, but then aggressively watching her fail because she has not gone through the proper steps to ensure that the character can be successful. Because the way you ensure that a character is successful is by letting this character getting to know by the fans and letting the fans decide if they like said character. Now, the reason why people go out here and push a character like this, it comes from insecurity, and that insecurity is the fear that this character cannot stand on their own 2 feet. So instead of letting this character launch to the comic book marketplace and letting the fans decide if they like her, they want to try to tell us to like her. And what I learned from years of being in publishing is when you go out here and try to tell people to like a character, usually that means that that character is of poor quality, because good characters don't need the creators to tell us to like them. Usually this character is so well crafted and has a personality and a voice that people like that this character can go out here and carry themselves on their own, the way your Tim Drake managed to carry himself on his own out of the pages of Batman to become a fan favorite, the way Connor Kent carried himself out of the pages of Superman to become a fan favorite as Superboy, the same way Bart Allen carried himself out of the Flash pages to become Impulse, and the same way Cassie Sandsmark carried herself out of the pages of Wonder Woman to become a fan favorite as Wonder Girl. These characters came out of organic progression to become fan favorites, and this character sadly is not being allowed that opportunity to become a fan favorite by just being herself. No, what DC is trying to do is the same thing that Marvel tried to do with America Chavez, in trying to force us to like this character by trying to constantly keep pushing this character on us. But you don't have to push a great character. A great character will just be somebody that the audience will start to like almost immediately, and they'll like them because they have great stories. So I find it very, very troubling when I see a comic book company going out here and pushing a character before the book has even been published into a TV series. No, you're supposed to wait a good year and a half, or 2 years for this character to start to build an audience. And you're supposed to look at the sales to see if this character is going to be somebody who is viable in a comic. And this DC Future State, from what I've seen from many comic fans, they are not very happy about it. And to give a character that comic fans aren't happy about a series is the fastest way to lose money for a network. I mean, let's wait to see if this character's book is interesting enough to warrant any sort of sales. And then after we see what this character does in terms of sales, then let's talk about a series. I mean, we have not even seen this character in action, and we have Berlanti talking about, let's go into production on a show. No, as a publisher, I'd say like this. No, let's see what the sales are going to be on the book. Let's see what the public reception to the character is going to be on the book before we start spending money on developing TV series. And again, this just shows again the insecurity of what people call the woke types as related to developing superheroes. They only want to check off diversity check boxes as related to characters, but they don't really want to focus on the substance of those stories so that people will start to get to know these characters. They're all about the flash of promoting so-called diversity, but they're not about promoting substance as related to the characters they present in their stories. And because they're not about the substance of their stories, this is why stuff like many of the Greg Berlanti shows, like Batwoman, are so absolutely terrible, and why shows like Supergirl, which started out strong, declined and became just unwatchable after the second half of the second season, because those shows, all they focused on was identity politics, and they did not focus on the action and adventure that most viewers wanted to see. But again, I find it as a writer and a publisher to be quite troubling that you have somebody coming out here talking about a TV series before the comic has been published, because that's just, again, putting the cart before the horse, because you want the readers to be there. You want to have an established audience from the readers. And yes, this visual design from Joelle Jones on this Wonder Girl costume is quite intriguing, but where we need to know more about the story, because from what I look at the premise, there's not really much there as related to premise to make you care about this version of Wonder Girl, and it's just not been proven that she can carry a series on her own. Before, the whole thing is that let's find out how things are going to work and not look to get diversity points, because CW already has numerous diversity points. Unfortunately, while they check off the diversity check boxes for their characters, they usually are stuck in absolutely terrible stories. Meanwhile, black creators like myself, nobody wants to talk to us, because and I'm out here creating characters like Isis and John Haynes and Eaststeam and Matilda Crowley, and lots of great black characters, and characters that actually show you not only diversity as related to ethnicity, but also diversity of thought, because you're getting different aspects of black culture. And nobody wants to talk to guys like me about our characters, but they want to sit there and talk about, oh, we're making a step for diversity, while they continue to promote the same old stereotypes in much of their content. And the whole thing is, they're not really breaking ground, as they say it, as related to superhero representation, because on Arrow, Wild Dog, who was a white male in the comics, was changed into a Hispanic, and on other shows you've had Latinos represented on the regular in the CW superhero shows. So this is just another, as I see it, attempt to try to virtue signal with this Wonder Girl character, and that's hurting the character before they can go out here and make an impression on the readers. No, let's see what the character is like in the comics before you start talking TV, because it's again comes from insecurity that you're going to say, oh, we're doing this for diversity, but it shows me that there's not much as related to confidence in the story, because when you try to push a character like this out to the forefront real fast like this, there's something you're trying to hide. And usually what they're trying to hide with these what they call SJW characters in SJW comics is the complete lack of story, the complete lack of character development, and the fact that all of their story is just based on the person's ethnicity, not on things that are related to personality, voice, or concept, that this character can't stand on the merits like a static could. No, this character can only stand by saying that they are a race or an identity, and that's not good storytelling. That's just attempts to try to virtue signal without trying to go out here and give real black creators and real other types of creators opportunities to develop characters, because when you have somebody out here making a character out here on and just trying to push them to the forefront, again, that's coming from a lack of confidence, and it's coming because it's just coming from no confidence, because again, wait for the book to be published, then launch the TV series. But this just comes from another desperate attempt by Greg Berlanti to talk about promoting so-called diversity. Meanwhile, they don't want to talk about the racism that is perpetrated on many of these CW shows, like Batwoman, as related to heterosexual black men. Because the way black men have been treated on CW shows, it shows how, in their desperate attempt to promote diversity, there's still racism going on behind the scenes, and it just shows how these woke people truly are. And these woke people, they talk all about diversity, but they can't see the racism they participate in, and they can't see that in their attempts to promote so-called diversity, they oftentimes make mockery and promote stereotypes about the very same people they're trying to represent. So when I look at this Wonder Girl TV series, I just see a complete mess getting ready to be made, one that possibly may be even worse than Batwoman, and I see Greg Berlanti making another disaster of a superhero show. Now, if you want to pick up my stories that feature strong black heroines like the ISIS series, the East-Team series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And this month, I'm releasing the first SJS Direct comic in the book East-Team Blast from the Past. So if you want to check that comic out, you can head over to Amazon.com to pick up a copy of East-Team Blast from the Past in paperback. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.